Hello, sir. Welcome to my business meeting abroad assignment. The country I have chosen is the UAE, United Arab Emirates. Today I'll be speaking basically off of the little chart you have provided for us. Today we'll be learning about how to speak with an Emirati citizen and also how to deal with anybody who has a business in that country. So let's begin. Let's begin with the most important, which is the negotiation style. Now, negotiations, although they happen in almost everything that we do in our lives, in business, it is the most, let's say, profitable, at least financially. Now, out of the 5 negotiating styles, which is the competing, accommodating, avoiding, compromising, or the collaborative negotiation style, I highly suggest the accommodating one. I personally think it is the best because the other ones are not only not superior because, for example, avoiding and compromising is, although acceptable, it is not as, let's say, powerful and impacting as accommodating. Assuming you are a new person to this country and you don't know anybody necessarily, you're not friends with anybody there, then collaborating is not really going to work. Usually you collaborate if there's a mutual, let's say, link between you and whoever it is you are doing business with. Accommodating is almost like it checks off everything, all the objectives that you need to do within an Emirati citizen, as it shows that you are a valuable asset to have on this person's team, and it also shows that you are, let's say, willing to hold your ground while still being, let's say, very kind, very praising, and being a good image to this business. Now, competing is generally not successful, at least as a small business, because the only big businesses there are those who are governmentally owned. Now, competing is not really successful, as although it may seem bizarre, it deflates the egos of a lot of these business owners. It's sort of seen like a form of disrespect. Maybe you having an ego in competing, showing off, let's say, is like, they'll think of it as in they don't have time for this. Their money and time is better somewhere else. Now, it's already been 2.5 minutes. I'm going to move on to language. The language there in Arabic is the main language there. However, because it is such a multinational country, English is very, very common too. In fact, in business, after research, and I personally also believe that it is more commonly used. Now, with big businesses, if a translator is needed, there will be a translator. With small businesses, usually there isn't a translator. If there won't need to be because they usually know the same language. Only times where a small business will hire a translator is if the opportunity is like 1 in a million, and that would obviously elevate the business to be a bigger business. What is not really acceptable is silliness in jokes. So what is acceptable is having, let's say, banter, being let's say, good comedically, but having silliness will almost be a sign of disrespect. There's a very fine line between the two. Now, you can be like, oh, I was late to traffic, the traffic was whatever, right? However, you cannot insult through that in a joke. It is seen as disrespect, and respect is like it's one of the pillars of all Arabic countries. Now, moving on to forms of greeting. Now, I'm going to just pretend that COVID didn't happen, because, that's it's not the norm. Because through COVID, everything would be happening online. A simple hi would do, hello, whatever, right? But usually when meeting with somebody, you would have to have a gift, some sort of gift. It could be, big, small, whatever. But usually, like a handshake would be fine. If it is of the opposite gender in that country, regardless of religion or whatever, if it's the opposite gender, no physical touching will ever happen. You just say, hello, and you move on very politely. If it's man, man, woman, woman, a shake of the hand would do nothing more than that, and then you just move on. And usually, the main, let's say, in that country, assalamu alaikum, that's their general greeting, which means may peace be upon you. It's basically like saying hello. It's very common there. But nobody says it unless you are an Arab yourself or speak Arabic. Else it would be seen not as disrespect, but it would just be a little awkward. It would be weird. Now, the dress codes for men and women, it would be covered clothing. So like, let's say you have shoes, whatever, you cannot have them that are showing like your foot. You can't have, like, for women, a skirt that shows nothing. You can wear a skirt with, like, leggings under. It's more described in detail in the actual document. But also, there's no branded clothing. That's not allowed. Or it is not preferred, my apologies, like a Nike symbol or the CK on Calvin Klein. It's preferred that you just wear like a plain white dress shirt for a man and a suit, neutral colors, the white, grays, and blacks. And same thing for women, like, let's say, just regular suits, and that would be very accepted. Now, the business protocols, which means like giving gifts and stuff like that, if you are the one who is setting up the meeting, make sure you're on time. Just a simple preference, make sure you're on time, because you being 5 minutes late versus the other person being 5 minutes late is bigger of an impact for you, because you're the one who initially initiated this meeting. If it is with an Emirati citizen, you will never ever be like, why are you so late? You just deal with it and be like, oh, I'm happy you're here, let's begin. With gifts are preferred, but remember, know your audience. If you are a small business owner, let's say, and you're meeting with a billionaire, don't buy him a box of chocolates. It's better not to buy anything. They're very considerate there, so just make sure you're aware of everything. Now, in terms of business entertainment, the business entertainment there is much different. You don't really go to, let's say, clubs or whatever, and more often than not in Europe that actually happens quite a lot. Usually it's a restaurant. And the food is kind of your entertainment. Your hospitality is your entertainment. Your conversation is your entertainment. That's the way they do it there. And of course, if it's from a person from a different culture, then the culture of the Emirati culture would be a huge part of the entertainment. Don't some of the things that are just like generally not accepted. Don't pass food with your left hand. It's just a little bit not only awkward. It's just a little bit disrespectful. For them at least. That's why a lot of businesses actually fail in the United Arab Emirates. Also, this is kind of with entertainment, not necessarily, but the location must be neutral. It's much better if you are in, like, let's say you're in Dubai, and in a specific part like Al Jumeirah, and your business owner is also, let's say, 10-15 minutes away. Try to pick a neutral area instead of somewhere in a different city completely. There's no need for that. Now, in terms of employee management, the laissez-faire, UAE have a lot of in-depth rules about that. Usually, those in the higher positions or the lower positions are the ones working the most. Those in the middle are just having a normal work week and having normal paid jobs. Now, if you are, let's say, a CFO, then you will be working 6 days, 7 days a week, up to 10 p.m. maybe. And if you are a worker, usually a construction worker, let's say, imported from Bangladesh or India, a country that is less fortunate, the UAE laissez-faire rules it's different than other countries. Like in Qatar, they will import these people and they will work them as much as they want. In UAE is more ethical. It's basically working them to the maximum. In Qatar, for example, like they're literally working people, and there has been deaths over, for example, the 2022 World Cup, the stadium building. There's been deaths for that. UAE, their number one rule is, in updating every single year, how to follow these ethical protocols, that nobody is actually in a critical situation. It is more accepted there to work a lot, because that's maybe how the country's progressing more than other countries. But they make sure they follow every single protocol there. Now, to wrap it off, basically, one of the most important things that I've learned through, family experience, through online details, is to be self-aware. One must, if you are proposing yourself to somebody in the UAE, show your value. You have maybe 20-30 minutes in a meeting, could be more, could be less. Show your value in your conversation, in your hospitality, in your everything. You have to show that you are smart. You have to show that you are trustworthy, because that is very, very important to them. Honor is one of the key things, as I said, the pillars of respect. And make sure you just know all around the situation you're going around. This actually goes back to the beginning where I suggested the accommodating negotiation style. show your value, but don't put yourself below or too high. Generally, they want the best. So unless you are aiming to be one of the best in whatever it is that you are doing, a job interview, a business, partnership, make sure that you aim high, but you show the person you are with that you're not to the level of delusion that you just all of a sudden want to be a CEO or something like that. One of the things that is not acceptable there, from the additional factors, is, as I said, just don't be too humble. Be kind, be respectful, but don't belittle yourself. As if you do that, instantly your chances are gone, because they will undervalue you. You might be really happy with an offer you get, whether it be for a job or a business, but they will undervalue, and everything will be cut off. And it will be very hard to go up the ranks after that, because then you will be seen as arrogant, which obviously kind of breaks the respect rules. So I do apologizing for speaking so much. I only spoke for maybe 50% of what I wrote. I will submit everything. So thank you very much for your time, sir. Have a great day.